Welcome to the Thing About Witch Hunts podcast. I'm Josh Hutchinson.
And I'm Sarah Jack. Today we're joined by our fellow End Witch Hunts nonprofit board member, Mary Bingham, to discuss the critical work being done to raise awareness about modern-day witch hunts and spiritual ritual abuse. This upcoming Sunday, August 10th, is World Day Against Witch Hunts.
Another form of supernatural fear which occurs in the United States and around the world is spiritual and ritual abuse, as Sarah mentioned. This includes things like harming people who are believed to be spiritually or diabolically possessed. Mary has been creating powerful daily videos remembering the people who have died as a result of this abuse in the United States in recent years. And she's written compelling articles drawing connections between historical witch trials and contemporary exorcism cases.
As descendants of those accused in the Salem witch trials, this work holds deep personal meaning for all three of us. But more importantly, it addresses an ongoing crisis happening in over 60 countries today, with devastating consequences for the most vulnerable members of those societies.
And now let's get to our conversation with Mary about why World Day Against Witch Hunts matters and how we can all play a role in ending these harmful practices through education and awareness.
Welcome back to the Thing About Witch Hunts podcast, Mary Bingham.
Hello, everybody. I'm so glad to be back.
Hi, Mary.
Hello.
It's so great to have you back.
Thank you.
The organization that we all volunteer at, End Witch Hunts nonprofit, addresses harmful practices related to witchcraft accusations through education and awareness campaigns. As a member of the executive board, what would you say to people who may not realize why this mission is so important in today's world?
So we are a board of 5 people who volunteer our time daily to expose the ongoing witch hunts happening in over 60 countries with devastating consequences. Our mission of awareness and education is important regarding this matter because awareness challenges the lack of scientific education in the communities where witch hunting is prevalent, allowing superstitious beliefs to prevail. Education opens the mind and challenges these old superstitions by creating an awareness of mental health issues and other phenomena such as sickness, weather, crop failure that are historically mistaken for bewitchment. They foster fear and suspicion. Oftentimes, a person who is accused, most likely a woman, believes they don't have any legal option. In addition, the perpetrators aren't afraid of being held responsible and will sometimes exploit their supernatural beliefs for monetary gain. Again, education is the key. And witch hunts will always educate on historic witch hunts because disturbing patterns have weaved their way from the earliest witch hunts in Europe, which date back to the 15th century, through the modern day, scapegoating and the persecution of marginalized people.
When you run into people and you talk about this, what kind of response do you get? I generally get a really positive, inquisitive response.
I do as well, but I also get a response of, I don't believe this is still happening in today's world. But when I do tell people, because where I work, I come into contact with a lot of people every day. And when I'm at the Rebecca Nurse Homestead and I'm talking about this, everyone seems interested and they're like, what's going on? Why is this still happening? So able to engage with people and educate them, which is wonderful.
Yeah, I find we get a lot of curious reactions from people. Like, I agree with both of you, what you've said. I've had that same response of, I don't believe this is happening right now. But once we lay out the details, people believe it. And a lot of people get interested in getting involved in doing something about it, even if that's just speaking with other people in their circle, which is a very important thing to do because a message coming from somebody in your own circle rings louder with you.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And One of the things that was really important to me when I started this journey 3 years ago, when we started working to get an exoneration with the Connecticut Project, I talked about my descendancy a lot, that I had ancestors that went through witchcraft accusations and suffered. And I think sometimes I tend to not bring that up in the conversation as quickly. But when I remember to do it, it's so significant to the people who are listening. And that happened to me again yesterday. It was like in a follow up conversation that I had with the individual that I mentioned it. And they're like, oh, wow, I can really see why this resonates with you. Do you talk about your ancestors when you talk about it?
Yeah, people are so fascinated by family connections to the witch trials, especially when we're interacting with people from other nations outside of the United States, where it's less common in many cases in even Europe, where there were so many witch trials going on. It's less common for people to know if their ancestor was accused. Especially, we hear that from people in Scotland all the time, that they just don't have records of that time period of the witch trials that give you enough specifics about who was being accused to actually make those family connections. So people react with that curiosity again, and they want to know more. And then they understand, like you said, I see why you feel so strongly about this. You've got your ancestral connection. But for me, it's also just, I think once you hear and understand what's happening today, I don't see how anybody can just walk away from that and not do anything.
I agree. I agree. And I find that when I mention that I have ancestors that were hanged or accused, sometimes people will look at me like, wow, like, or how do you know that? How do you know what you know? And sharing the history and the research and everything. So
You do such a great job at that.
you,
So, we're here today to talk about August 10th, which is World Day Against Witch Hunts. As an organization, we're doing several things to raise awareness about that day, having an event, a live event that listeners can tune into. We'll have that link for you. Mary, why is this day important to you?
So the World Day Against Witch Hunts is important to me for many reasons, but three I'll name here. I am a descendant of Sarah Wilds, Mary Esty, Susanna Martin, and Esther Elwell, who were all accused of the felony crime of witchcraft in 1692, of whom the first three mentioned were hanged. The injustices of their circumstances need to be told over and over again and repeated down through the generations so as to have an effect against future accusations. Not only that, but we need to memorialize the people accused in colonial times who have yet to be memorialized by having a place to visit, a beautiful physical tribute to stand in front of, to touch, to listen to their stories, to read their words, give those of us living today something of substance by which to remember them. The second reason is that spiritual and ritual abuse is, for lack of a better word, rampant in the United States. Today End Witch Hunts has tracked over 110 legal cases that have either been tried or are about to be tried before the courts all over the country. One of many elements which ties this thread back to colonial New England is fear of the devil and superstitions that have absolutely no foundation in fact. In colonial times, though a good education existed for some of the elite, mainly for the men, bewitchment was still a very prevalent belief, even among the most learned of the society or the colony. And this is because the Puritans believed that the physical and invisible worlds were intertwined. And for all of our advances in education, superstition with regards to those innocent victims believed to be possessed by a demon, it is still a factor in the U.S. today. Why? Because the assailant believed that a demon needed to be exorcised, often resulting in death. The third reason is to have another day to honor the memories of those lives lost. In America, we know the dates of May 26th, July 19th, August 19th, September 19th, and September 22nd. And now we have another day, August 10th, to bring forth the narratives of those people of whom are lesser known, those that have died as a result of worldwide witch hunts as recent as maybe 2 weeks ago.
Can you tell us what those other dates mean that you shared with us?
Those are the dates that are important to us because those are the dates that our ancestors and these innocent victims were hanged.
Like you're saying, it's so important to raise awareness that these things are happening still today, because people tend to look, at least in America, what I've experienced is that people believe that the witch trials were all in the deep, deep past before America became the United States, and they want to relegate it to history. And then you point out that it's happening today. It causes a little bit of a mental contradiction for people. How do they recognize that what you're sharing is true when they've got this preconceived notion? So the raising awareness is absolutely critical for people to get involved. They have to know that this is going on and how serious it is. So I thank you for all that you've been doing to do that, to get the message out there. And how are you raising awareness of these modern day witch hunts and spiritual and ritual abuse for this August 10th?
So I am raising awareness by posting a daily video remembering the more than 66 people who have died as a result of spiritual and ritual abuse in the United States on my YouTube channel. And my channel is Sarah Wilds 1692. And the playlist for those videos is titled World Day Against Witch Hunts, August 10th, 2025.
When we're raising awareness about these type of violent crimes here in the US, we're not just saying, hey, a child was abused. We're like, if it's a child, 'cause sometimes it's not. Sometimes these victims are grandparents. We're saying this is how they were killed, and the fear of the demonic or the fear of a curse played into the crime in this matter. So your videos that you're sharing are the ending stories of these families who sadly have had witchcraft accusations devastate their family. So thank you for that. And you also use articles to bring out the layers of this. Would you like to tell us about those?
I've just started to publish articles, and the first one is Witch Hunting from Salem to San Jose, Dorothy Good and Arilee Proctor, which chronicles the similarities of two very young children who were accused of diabolical alignment, Dorothy in 1692 and Arilee in 2021. And Arilee sadly died at the hands of her mother, uncle, and her grandfather. And their case is set to go to trial, hopefully, in early 2026. But I will say that the hearing to set the date for the trial keeps getting pushed back. It was supposed to be June 4th. Now it's pushed out to September. So we need to get that trial date set and get this thing going so that Arilee gets the justice that she deserves. And my next article to be published has yet to be titled, but it chronicles the mental health issues of two women that are possible factors in them as accusers. And the first woman is Anne Carr Putnam, who accused quite a few people in 1692, which led to the hanging of 3 of those that she accused. And the second woman is Angela Flores, who murdered her own children on Mother's Day of 2022 because she believed they were possessed by a demon. And Angela's trial is also still pending. we're still waiting to hear about an arraignment date for her. So that could be a couple of years down the road.
And these are just two stories that you're comparing to Salem. You have over 60 of these videos of a new story every single day of a situation like this from the US. They're a few minutes long, so it doesn't take long to tell these stories. And then you also provide links to the news and court information.
Yes, to the best of my ability. We are lucky that we have a lot of these court records available to us online. But there's one case that the police incident report is over 73 pages long. And poor Josh is just about to get that in the mail next couple of days. But it's front to back, Josh, so it's only 47 pages for you. I mean, that's what we're looking at. And by looking at those police incident reports gives us a lot more information that was shared in the news. So we really get to dive into what actually happened to these poor victims.
And when we look at these stories and each circumstance that leads to this boiling point, there's a lot of different things that influence this happening. When you look at these stories, what do we see that is consistent?
I am seeing a lot of pastors or people that have these religious beliefs that are performing in a quote unquote exorcisms through starvation. That's really interesting. In fact, the video that I'm going to put up tomorrow is the third sequential video of those poor victims having the effects of death due to starvation. So that's really interesting. The other thing, Sarah, you pointed out a few days ago is the belief that objects can also become possessed. That we see in the one who tried to burn her son alive or was involved in that particular incident. And then that's also in the case of Arilee Proctor as well, where the mother and the uncle removed all the objects from the room because they believed that those were also possessed by demons. So it's interesting to see how these superstitions kind of come through.
It is, and there's so many connections between the past witch trials and these modern day cases. A lot of the beliefs are the same or very similar.
Yes.
Because you had a lot of bewitched items, allegedly bewitched items like puddings and cheeses and all these things that were cursed, and you had to throw them in a fire to break the curse. And a number of those cases in 1692 and before.
Right. And we also see cases too in 1692 where people that are offering depositions, or a couple of them, are described as being sad, depressed, as in the case of Christian Trask, who offered a deposition against Sarah Wilds Bishop and later committed suicide. And we see that mental health kind of come down through the ages too. Of course, back in those days, they didn't have the diagnosis that we have today. And people that were acting out of the ordinary seemed to be so different. And they were just being marginalized because people didn't understand what was going on with them. So if they can't find a diagnosis, then like the doctor did in February 1692, it's got to be bewitchment.
Yeah, we see that with misunderstandings around dementia and Alzheimer's and other common enough medical conditions, but they're still misunderstood in many, many communities. And this is around the globe.
Exactly.
What is your hope that your videos and your articles, what is your hope from those? How do you want individuals to respond? Where do you want the message to go?
In terms of responding, I think I would like to see a response not to me individually, but just like responding, like paying it forward. Like, there's the information, and have people talk about it amongst themselves, their peers, talk about it on social media. I think that's my goal. And just, again, to educate. And if people do want to reach out to me, they are more than welcome to. They can reach out to me on my YouTube channel, and I will be happy to answer any questions that they have.
You're also really great at writing letters. There's been so many times over the last few years that you have written people in positions of authority, those who are taking action or investigating some of these crimes. You've sent letters, and that's something that other people can do as well.
Yes. So if they do get in touch with End Witch Hunts, I'm more than happy to provide information, especially when things come up, because we know our friend and advocate, Dr. Leo Igwe, is always telling us about certain things that are happening. And actually, last summer, because of the letters that he sent and I sent from here, I mean, he was even active on the ground over there. He was able to basically stop an organization from accusing people or naming people as witches in Nigeria. So it's just the whole thing, the letter writing and making. And the thing is that if we write from here in the United States or in other countries to these countries where these things are happening, then they're noticing that, hey, the world is taking notice of what we're doing. So maybe we better, step up to the plate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to take a lot of people getting involved to solve this crisis. Great getting the word out, and I encourage people, do come forward and talk to Mary and find out ways that you can help. She'll gladly send you an email when there's a need that comes up, and be very happy to help out.
Is there anything else either one of you want to share?
I want to say that I am blessed to have the support of an executive board that is out of this world. Josh Hutchinson, Sarah Jack, Jen Stevenson, and Beth Caruso. You guys are all awesome. Couldn't work with a better crew of people.
Thank you, Mary. It's been a really incredible journey. We started this organization together while we're learning to advocate for this crisis, and it's so rewarding. But it has taken a lot of time and energy from each of us. I'm very grateful to what both of you give to the projects.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
World Day Against Witch Hunts is a really important date for spreading the word. Understanding and then continuing the conversation is where meaningful change starts. We hope to see you at our online event, August 10th. Bring a friend.
Every day, you can check out our other podcast, The Thing About Salem, for all of your Salem witch trials needs.
And join our Patreon to view bonus content and engage with us in chats.
Join our organization End Witch Hunts Live on World Day Against Witch Hunts to learn from leading experts about the survivors of witchcraft accusations in Ghana outcast camps.
Sunday, August 10th, End Witch Hunts Events is bringing together specialists from Amnesty International, the Sonnet Institute, the Total Life Enhancement Center Ghana, ActionAid, and Sangtaba for a crucial discussion on supporting survivors of witchcraft accusations with a special focus on women and children in Ghana's outcast camps.
The World Day Against Witch Hunts isn't just about history. It's about understanding a crisis happening right now. Vulnerable people, especially women and children, still face violence and exile due to witchcraft accusations in communities that desperately need our support.
This is your opportunity to learn directly from researchers, advocates, and organizations working directly in these communities to address their needs.
Events are happening globally to honor this day of remembrance and education. Please share the event details with your network.
You can register for free at endwitchhunts.org/day, and attending this event will help you gain insights that can help turn awareness into meaningful action.
Because understanding and then starting an important conversation is where meaningful change starts.
Hear the special expert panel this Sunday, August 10th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. GMT, that's 1:30 p.m. EDT. Find the link to this free online webinar at endwitchhunts.org/day.
Have a great today and a beautiful tomorrow.